this video, I'll show you how to take your two-handed weapon character from this to this. Or even this. Let's get started. You know, I'm something of a warrior myself, often favoring two-handed weapons since nothing tickles the caveman part of the brain quite like sprinting full speed at an enemy and bonking them on the head with something the size of a tree trunk. The same can be said for Skyrim, but my biggest gripe with two-handed weapons in that game is just how slow they are. Let's fix that. The first thing I did was create an orc named Frank Carpenter. Why? Because he'll hammer these bitches. When escaping Helgen, I side with the Legion, not because of the political agenda, but rather for the fact that Stormcloaks use two-handed weapons the most, giving us a guaranteed two-handed sword at the beginning. And the rest of your time in Helgen can be spent on leveling the two-handed skill. Orcs are really good for this build, not just because of their skill bonuses, but also the special ability known as Berserker's Rage, increasing both our DPS as well as our survivability. When I'm greeted with daylight again, the first thing I do is make my way to the Guardian Stones, enabling the Warrior Stone in the process. Once I get to Riverwood, I steal Alvor the Blacksmith's entire livelihood because I've sided with his nephew earlier. This earns us a nice bit of starting gear on our way to Whiterun. And while we're on the subject of blacksmiths, we can just take the entire stock of War Maidens, provided they don't see us do it. We then make our way to the marketplace. We're looking for an individual named Carlotta, who is being harassed by Michael. With our newly acquired armor, we can teach him what it means to respect women, but our motives are not entirely selfless, as completion of this side quest gives us access to free food. They also form the basis of vegetable soup. This increases health and stamina regeneration, but in actuality, it gives us the option to infinitely power attack. While we're still in Whiterun, we accept the next main quest and then move on to Riften. It's important that we do the next step before we hit level 9. A little to the west of Riften lies an orcish stronghold by the name of Largushbor, or something. Now normally, this area is tied to the Daedric quest, The Cursed Tribe, but this is only available after hitting level 9. Before, no one will be there. This also means that the door will stay locked, but since Skyrim is a perfectly balanced game with no exploits, we can just do this. If we approach the walls from the west side, we can turn our back to the stronghold and spam the jump button. This will at some point grant us access to the abandoned place. And since there's no one present to witness us robbing a memorial grave, an orcish battle axe and armor pieces are just there for the taking. And that's how you get an armor rating of almost 100 at level 1. While we're in Riften, we can do the Book of Love quest. This can be started in the Temple of Mara, requiring you to help the people of Skyrim find love. Completion rewards you with a permanent 15% increase in magic resistance, really helpful for taking down those pesky dragons. Haha, you hurt me slightly less than you could have. With all this, you should now be ready to take on Bleakfall's Barrow. Not only will this progress the main quest, you'll also get some nice early levels, helping you whack the Draugr back into their graves faster than they can realize they're actually alive again. It's now time to face off against the dragon, but after what we've done so far, this shouldn't really be a challenge. The next logical step for this build is training with the Greybeards, after which they'll task you with retrieving the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. Upon investigation, we find out that this has actually been taken by Delphine. For now, we'll take the horn back and accept her next quest, but before we actually do that, we go back to the Greybeards and learn the final word of Unrelenting Force. Now not everyone knows this, but if you go back to Ustengrav with the horn of Jurgen Windcaller, you actually can get a free dragon soul, and this is exactly what we need to remedy the slow attack speed of the two-handed weapons. A little to the northeast of the statue to Meridia, you can find the first word of power for Elemental Fury. This is a shout that makes attacking with weapons faster, its speed increasing with each level of the shout. So you probably know what we're going to do next. But before we leave the Solitude region, you can get a free Amulet of Talos by yanking it off a freshly executed man. This will help reduce time between shouts. The second word of power can be found in Dragontooth Crater, which is a dragon spawn to the north of Karth Weston and the west of Solitude. As luck would have it, the dragon that is already there will provide us with the second dragon soul needed for the second word. With everything we've done so far, this fight shouldn't be too hard. The last place we'll visit for this shout is Shriekwind Bastion, and this place is a maze. The best way I can explain it is just go to the top. If you're going upwards, you're going in the right direction. We just need one more dragon soul, and for this reason we continue with the main quest. Combining Berserker's Rage alongside Elemental Fury looks like this. So as of right now, we're quite a force to be reckoned with, but we can do better. To this end, we join the companions and just do their entire questline. This seems like a big ask, and I won't pretend it isn't, but if you keep your eyes on the prize, you'll know you'll be rewarded with the Axe of Eugenics. Even better, the questline itself will prove a nice opportunity to train the two-handed and heavy armor skills. If that's not enough, it will also unlock Vilkas, Farkas and Jurland Greymane as trainers. Lastly, Farkas will be unlocked as a follower, so now you can both aura farm. And for the next part, a strong follower is quite nice, as we're going to be infiltrating the Liar's Retreat dungeon, where we can find a special Warhammer known only as the Longhammer. At the end of the table, you can find it on the sacrificial bed, and what's special about this hammer is that it can actually swing faster than most other two-handed weapons. Now, strictly speaking, you can pick up this weapon at level 1, but you shouldn't. We have now unlocked the bread and butter of this build, but let's improve it even further. The first and foremost area of improvement is the Longhammer itself. At level 50, you can unlock Orcish Smithing. To get there, we can employ the training services of Jurland Greymane, Consolius Commandius, or we can do it ourselves. To this end, we'll travel to the halted stream camp. At the end of that dungeon, there's a spell book called Transmute Mineral Ore. This spell turns iron into silver and silver into gold, costing 88 magicka per cast. Poverty just became a skill issue. What's cool about mining is that you can just melee the ore with a pickaxe, and it will come out of its vein out of respect for your masculinity. Iron ore is so common that this way guarantees that we'll always have a supply of gold, which we then can turn into jewelry and smithing XP. At level 50, we can really bump up the base damage of the Longhammer. It can be improved even further with more smithing levels and enchantments, but for that, we'll need ore. Ore I shall come is just as much a threat and announcement as it is a mineral, and a lot of it can be found in the Dushnik mine. Since we're already a mighty orc, we'll be able to enter the stronghold as is. Once you've maxed out your smithing, your encounter should look something like this. At this point in the game, it should be a priority to buy a plot of land where you can grow your own ingredients, smelt your own ores, and do some alchemy as well. These recipes I have found to be really useful for this build, and they'll only increase in magnitude as you continue to invest in the alchemy skill tree. Almost all of these ingredients can be grown in your garden in your house. To be really unstoppable, you can enchant your armor, giving you the option to improve your health, two-handed attack power, and much more. A guaranteed source of the fortified two-handed enchantment can be found in White River Watch, though I would advise against enchanting the Longhammer itself, as enchanted weapons will not be compatible with Elemental Fury. Now it's time to bring it all home. These perks will ensure you'll get the most out of this build. The bread and butter of this build is of course the two-handed skill tree. We take 5 points in Barbarian, as that effectively doubles the damage we do. Champion Stance is made obsolete by Vegetable Soup, but it does unlock 2 other skills. Devastating Blow increases the power attack damage, and it has a chance to lop off the head of your enemies.
It'll be so much easier to roll.
And the Great Critical Charge gives us the option to do a sprinting attack. Sweep allows for an AoE damage attack on multiple enemies, which can come in handy when dealing with unruly children, for example. And War Master gives you an option to cause paralysis. Putting it all together, it should look something like this. Moving on to the heavy armor skill tree, and make sure to put 4 points in Juggernaut. Since we're only using heavy armor to begin with, the next perk is well fitted. We put 1 point in Tower of Strength, as this will help us keep from staggering. The matching set perk rewards us for aura farming by giving us more armor rating, and Fists of Steel increases your unarmed damage, which is beyond the scope of this build, but it does help when dealing with unruly children. We only take cushion for what it unlocks, and conditioning helps us with movement. This can come in extremely handy when chasing down your enemies. Reflect blows can be skipped because you'll dispose of your enemies so fast that it won't even matter. Smithing is a bit more straightforward. Orcish smithing is a must, but subsequent heavy armor smithing and arcane blacksmith is only needed if you want to make the most of this build, and judging by the damage numbers in the late game, I would highly recommend doing so. Alchemist can double the magnitude of the potions we make, while Physician will increase the amount of healing done. Benefactor will increase the magnitude of things like Fortified Two-Handed, while Poisoner increases the deadliness of your poison, which can be applied even more times if you pick Concentrated Poison. Alchemy is so useful that any build can benefit from it. The last piece of the puzzle is Enchanting. We take 5 points in Enchanter, 1 in Insightful, 1 in Corpus, and then we top it off with the extra effect perk. For this build, I went with the Fortify Health and Fortify Two-Handed enchantment most of the time. Keep in mind that certain enchantments are limited to specific armor pieces only, and don't forget to give your enchanted item a name it can be proud of. And that's it. Let's check this build out on a nobody like the Ebony Warrior.
How did you do that? Never should have come here.
Hey guys, just wanted to take a moment to thank you for the support for the past month. I appreciate all y'all. As always, the best way to help me out is to like and subscribe, and maybe watch another video if you're up for it. Don't forget to share my channel with your grandparents, and I'll see you in the next one.